This is day 241 of the Arukh HaShulchan OC. If you'd like to sponsor upcoming shir or more of the Arukh HaShulchan OC, please contact me directly. It'd be very much appreciated. Today we're doing Simakuf Sameches Sif Dalid to Simakuf Sameches Sif Yud Beis. And we're talking about what bread you make Hamotzian. Rabbeinu Dalid. Rabbeinu Beis Yosef Sif Dalid writes as follows. Because Rabbeinu Beis Yosef Sif Dalid. Pas Sorim, Pas Kusmim. If you have a bread of barley or bread of kusmin, which I believe is spelt. I'll check it up momentarily. Yes, that is correct. Spelt. Mebarach al shel sa'orim, we should break the bracha on the barley. Kimchi means shiba, since it's one of the shibas. Meaning, apish kusmin yofin, even if the spelt is superior. Ad kan lashono. Henkos avatur, the two writes the same thing. B'umi Yerushalmi, perik b'al the brachas. Kavana means the afagat kusmin michitim. Even though spelt is a type of wheat. Nevertheless, came this since nevertheless since barley, as much explicit in the Torah, Yesh no Ma'al Kusmin has an advantage over spelt. Even though spelt is a type of wheat. Just like wheat has an advantage over barley, because it comes first in the pasuk, Eretz Chita Usara. The Mishnah Berurah says that this is some people say that what you prefer is it comes first, and I know many people today prefer spelt for health reasons, including my dietitian. So according to this, we will not find this halacha to be operative unless it is the both of them are equally chaviv in one's eyes, according to Mishnah Berurah. Back to Arukh HaShulchan, name it, this is only being an actual barley bread. I mean, but a type of barley, which is such as our rye, spelt will become before rye, since rye is a type of barley. Because spelt is a type of wheat. Mean kusmin. The Arukh HaShulchan says we don't know what this kusmin is. Evidently, either they didn't have spelt in Russia, or Arukh HaShulchan did not know that, did not hold that kusmin are spelt, but that is what's accepted today. It's a bracket here which is not relevant, not going to be understandable to us. Hey, Kvarni's bar, the Kosek Shurotze Lecho Mishneh. There's only when you want to eat for both of them. When they wrote no, if you only want to eat one of them, you should make the bracha on it. In that case, you don't have to be concerned with the second one, even if it's more significant or more more liked by him. Mishnah Berurah says that this is if you don't want to eat, if you only want to eat one of them, but if you specifically only want to eat one of them, but if you don't care which one you eat, and they're both in front of you, even though you don't want to eat from both of them, it's a mitzvah in a move card to make a mosi on the one which either is previous to the pasuk or has one of the other advantages. I guess it's very rare, but theoretically, I guess yes. If you don't care, but you only want one, pick the one which has some advantage. Makes sense. Back to Arukh HaShulchan. On the opposite, when you want to eat from both of them, you argues the Mishnah Berurah and says that no, you should not go after chaviv. You should go whatever is considered to be more significant or prior in the pasuk. That's the Beis Yosef writes. At least I shouldn't have spoke too soon. Not the Arukh HaShulchan argues the Mishnah Berurah, but that Beis Yosef seems to argue the Mishnah Berurah. Those who say the last round, which is Barbasim Reishut Aleph, but according to some of those who say, and Mishnah Berurah was among them, even though he's not quoted here, that according to the Rambam, that fruit we go after one which is more liked by you. So too, you go after the bread which is more liked by you. Here the Arukh HaShulchan argues the Mishnah Berurah. Only by fruit where there is no concept of fixing a meal, you go after that which is more liked by you. but not when you're making a meal out of it. When you have a mind to beat both of them. Okay, so in that case, it's a Kviya Suda, and you have mind to both of them. So begin the Suda with the one which has the advantages. For Rambam Matzmo, and he says the Rambam himself holds of this. Shadin Zekosa Beperek Zayin below his Kirach Chaviv. He writes this halacha in Perek Zayin about bread. He doesn't mention whatever's Chaviv. Or Perek Ches, but in Peros his Kirzah. But in Perek Ches, where he does mention the fruit, that's where he does mention it. A Vaik Moshkasam must be that Chaviv does not apply to bread. Vav Pas Hakuti, Pas Kuti, and Pas Yisrael. If you have Pas Akum, the Kutim here is censorship, bread of non-Jews, and bread of Jews, Vishel Kuti Otov Yosef, and one of the Pas Akum is better, it's superior. Vanu Shundaki means it's cleaner, Vishel Yisrael, the Pas Yisrael is not clean. You may not need to Pas Kutim if you are not one of the people who is concerned with not eating Pas Akum, except of course perhaps Shosh make tshuva. Either whichever one you want. The kol pasay shel maila. Each bread has an advantage. Same nation naki. This one because it's clean. But same nation sheison. The other this one because it's pasay swell. Vimu nizani paskud. Of course, if you're careful about pasakum, mevarach sheison, then you should make a bracha on the pasay swell. Come nevertheless, misalika pas hanaki shakutim. Now Shulchan, it's best to remove the pasakum, which from the table. Alachar because hamotzi. So after motzi is because, after all, it does look cleaner. The avogavdu nizar, even though you're careful, since there is no strict prohibition, a pasuk according to strict letter of the law. For Rabbim ochim also many people eat. Therefore, it's best to move from the table. Yeshu, some say tkeman shu nizar ain't so salko. Those who say since he himself is careful, he doesn't have to move it because for him it's as if it's not on the table. But in fact, if he's not Nizar, according to these poskim, then you should nevertheless remove it and make the bracha on Pas Yisrael. It's a Bach and Taz. Arukh HaShulchan says it seems that way that this is true. The Benizar ain't that because if he's careful and he doesn't have a mind to eat it. Regardless, you have to remove it. I feel below that. Regardless, since he doesn't have in mind to eat it. We said before, we don't, even if you have two types, one which you want to eat, with the other one which you don't want to eat, you go after, you don't intend to eat the other one, so then you don't have to remove from the table. It's not a problem, as we mentioned in the previous sif. The Mishnah Berurah says that many Achronim are unsure about this. That since he's careful and holds his Isser, what there is to make that it looks nicer. Nevertheless, it's best to be chayshesh to remove it from the table. So Arukh seems to be somewhat makel and doesn't require you to move it from the table when you're nizar. Yeah, but that's when you're nizar. It's not clear to me whether the Arukh HaShulchan or Mishnah Berurah actually means the paskin that when you're not nizar, you should still remove from the table and make a bracha on the Pas Yisrael. Because Arukh HaShulchan's conclusion is only that when you are nizar from pasakim, you don't remove from the table. It doesn't say that you should give preference to the Pas Yisrael. Zayin, yeshish nosa klal binyan zed, ochem achrei amalus shebechol pas. And this, one of the poskim has given principle in all this, that we go after the advantages in each bread. The fact that it's Pas Yisrael is one advantage. So therefore the Pas Akum has two advantages, such as it's whole, such as clean, v'shalem and whole, v'shal prusa, and the Pas Yisrael is sliced, naki, and it's not clean. You make a bracha on the pasakum sheino nizar when when you don't refrain from it. However, on the contrary, shalkuti sholem ve'eno naki. If the pasakum is complete but is not clean, sheisol naki, and the pas Yisrael is clean but it is sliced. Baruch sheisrael and make a bracha on the Pas Yisrael came Sheish Bo Shnei Milos, since it has two advantages. That's a Teres Kenim name of the Marshal. B'zel Vad Aidim Kol Echad Yesh L'Maylam Baruch Alei Zish Yirtzeh. Each one has an advantage. And then you make a bracha on whichever one you want. Imam Besumi Shnayim, but if there are two people there, Zeh Berechal Zeh, Zeh Zeh, let one make a bracha on each one. Pimu Echad, Yosim Zeh Besoch Zeh. And if he's one, with only one person there, he should put one inside the other. We already said we don't really have this concept nowadays. But all this is regardless when you're not careful about Pasachim, have a Benizar and Sarklum, but when you are Nizar, you don't have to go to all these machinations. Ches, v'im ba'al bais u'bnei beis u'msulim al shulchan, if the Baal Bais and the members of his household are sitting by the table, and he doesn't want to make some motzi, who needs to write Pashal Kutim, and he refrains from Pas Akum, who ain't Daito Lechel Menachlan, he doesn't have mind to eat it all, but Beiso and the people of his household, they're not careful, but they're going to eat from the clean bread of the non-Jews. There was a Baal Bais, but say, Abbas makes a motzi kim shunizar because he's careful about Pasakum. Yivar al Enonoki shel Yisrael. He should. I should read that with different inflection. Come a bayis habotzeya. Nevertheless, the Abbas who makes a motzi kim shunizar, since he is careful. Yivar al Enonoki shel Yisrael. He should make a bracha on the bread of these pas Yisrael, even though it's not as clean. These are pas kutim Yisrael. Sheinu nizar mikach meison l'shulchan. If the Baal Bais is careful from Pasakum, and there's another Jew at the table who's not concerned with Pasakum, came in the mitzvah who tells the Baal Bais, since the mitzvah is to come to Baal Bais to make a motzi, you should make the motzi on the better bread of the non-Jews. It's like a migo. Migo that is mutter to make a motzi on it, he is allowed to use it for the entire meal. That's cool. Mr. Bura says that you should know that today the minig is that each one makes a bracha to himself. So this halacha doesn't seem to be relevant, but each one should make a bracha on his own bread. The Arukh HaShulchan continues. The Bach argues, it's not really a migo. So therefore, the Arukh HaShulchan says that this leniency is only by a guest. Whereas mitzvah orchim, and it's proper for the boss to be mechabim lasos hamotzim lechem she'orech ochel, from the bread which the should make a motzi from the bread which the guest is eating. Wow, isn't that amazing? B'achnosas orchim, you can be making this halacha pasakum. That's pretty cool. Make on this pasakum, and you have a migo. And once you made a motzi on it, in order to make the guest feel comfortable, you can continue to eat it throughout the course of the meal. It's interesting. Whether we can extrapolate from this to other halachas of that sort, but when possible, trumps other considerations. Okay, I may base on shaylas can move on with the members of your household. That's not relevant because with them, you don't have to make them feel good. Not to say who says it's an orech. Even though the Farshim do not seem to say this, nevertheless, it seems to me this is the primary halacha. In other words, the fact that he's narrowing it only to a case of orchim, that is because since the halacha there should be migo that to make in this case, since to make a migo that you're allowed to make a motzi on it, even for less than a meal, or that you should be allowed to make a motzi altogether, since that is a very big chiddush of lo nosi v'lei. We're not going to add on it any scenarios, and we're going to stick to the scenario of where there is a guest. Test. Rabbeinu Makos about din zeh v'zelishon. The Ramah writes as follows: "But dafka shechaviv also pass. It's only that bread is chaviv to him. Havalim eno chaviv alav below isa pashul akum and tzich. But if it's not something which he likes more, without the prohibition of pas akum, we don't have to give it preference. It's kind of cryptic. So the Ramah says the verb to biur. That the Chavi Talim Milsa is not clear. This just have to do with what's more liked by him. That's to do with whether he wants even his bread or not. Well, Michael Monster, although what's his chiddush here? For near it seems the Gamma Rabbi and Ramah have a kashli dinze. Ramah also had difficulty with this halacha. Chaim Biardin and Kenu. That explains that this matters like this. The Avgavdu needs to repeat on, even though he's careful of their bread. Become nevertheless came in the Ein Isur Gomer Bezeh. So it's not a complete prohibition. The Chvod Areach Chaviv Alav Apas Anoki Azeh, and in honor of the guest, he's good. It's more chaviv at the moment for this purpose. This clean bread. The Klamar Shutzon Lachomi Ben of Lachem Mutar. Since the guest wants to eat from it, and therefore it's permissible. Avlim Eino Chaviv Alav Klamar Shgamatoin Ritzon Klalachon Menu. But it's not chaviv, meaning that. I guess let's rephrase that. I think that was wrong what I said before. You want to eat from it, the Ba'abas, because you want to participate with the Oreach in the meal. That's its mutter. But if despite the fact that the Oreach is there, it's not chaviv on you. You have no desire to eat from it, despite the fact that you have a guest. You don't have to have preference to the Pasakum regardless. Shulchan says this is the inference of the Shumas Sadeshin, and this seems to be also the text of the Mogen Avram. That's all the case about Bais is careful about Pasakum. And the Bais Aaron Nizar, if he doesn't care, and he only has a mind to eat in the meal from Pasakum because it's a better bread. And I'm sorry, here we're flipping it. The members of his household or the guests are careful about Pasakum. And they're Raukli Maka Enonoki, they eat only the unclean bread of the Jew. Which naming a Pasim Melachim, 2 types of bread on the table. Pshita Shetzriach Livtzoa al Pasanoki Shelohem. Wow. You have to make Hamotzi on the Pasakum, which is clean. Since he's the one making motzi, he only wants to eat from this bread. In this case, everybody agrees they don't move from the table. It seems to be partial. Since he doesn't want to eat from the other bread, so therefore he makes a motzi on this bread which he prefers. I guess the other people in Israel, they're going to eat from the other bread on the table. And many times you have a piece of loaves of bread, or usually rolls, which get stuck together when they're baked. And when you split them, one of them lost some of it, and the other one gained some of it. It's best to remove the extra part from the whole bread. They should near shlema, so it should look whole. Rather than leaving it connected, that extra piece should be even though it makes it look bigger. You should not cut it in the place where it was connected to the other piece of bread. Because it looks like it was already sliced there. Should slice in place where it is whole. But if you have really a cut piece of bread was already cut, a loaf which is already cut, you don't have to be careful to specifically cut it from the place where it's still intact. Because it's sliced. Slice to slice. But 10 minutes outside, you just cut it from the side. Of course, Rabbeinu Beis Yosef, Beis. So he writes, I'm not sure exactly what he means from the side. I should be honest about that. But I assume he means the same way you cut hamotzi and any other bread, just which is on the side. Doesn't matter if it's close to the side which is still whole, the side which is still sliced. It was already sliced. Of course, Rabbeinu says it's Beis. If you have 2 halves of a bread, you don't have a full piece of bread, you should put them together through a toothpick or or something else, so it shouldn't look like it's 2 pieces. And has the status of Rishon. It's even permissible on Shabbos. Obviously, Mishnah Berurah says if you have another one which is Sholem, you should not use this one. Continues Arukh HaShulchan. You can see the seam. Doesn't work. Mishnah Berurah says it's only if it's blatant. When you look at it very closely, that you can see it, but No, because if you look too closely, you can always see it, regardless. So it has to be that it's very blatant, and from a reasonable distance, it still looks separate. Back to the Arukh HaShulchan. Shabbos tzarich lizar shelo litol eitz shu muktzeh. You should not take a piece of wood which is muktzeh. Take a toothpick. Elachim erev Shabbos. We prepare for erev Shabbos. Ve'ein aminig l'chabram b'chol klal. Our minhag is not to connect them at all on a weekday. And Mishabur brings down that the Megan Avram says you don't have to be mahara to connect them. Eliyah Rabbah seems to hold that you should connect them. Again, as Arukh HaShulchan says, we don't do it. B'din zeh omer rokeach, this also rokeach, avotay zvachim mashlo mahani. Tosim say this doesn't work. Afshan because it's elian esrog ayin sham. Interesting. Tosis could be writing that specifically. Tosim zvachim of kuv hey. So they're writing out about esrog. Ve'era l'shad for him. And we have no evidence for any other situation. V'anach lo rinu aminik hazeh gam b'Shabbos. And Arukh HaShulchan says, I have not seen this minhag even on Shabbos to connect with the stick. You base. Afagav the birchas hamazon sar gazais. Even though birchas hamazon require gazais, come the birchas hamazon feel box me gazais ulachrov. You make hamazon even less than a gazais ulachrov. Ain't a bar klum box me gazais. But less gazais after you don't make a brach at all. These are ain't a rockly and pass. It's not just in terms of bread. I'll call them on Michael for any food. The ech shu birchaso. And whatever its bracha is. The bracha is trying to feel koshu. The bracha, first bracha goes no matter how small it is. The bracha achronim rak kazais, and the last bracha is only kazais. Really, di macha kachatzi kazais. Perhaps you may have a kazais. Lo yabadai tlecho yosin. Never mind eat anymore. Chachan dimach lecho od chatzi zais, and then you decide to eat another half of zais. The tzarich lebarach opam bracha shana have to make another bracha achrona. Bracha shana. Tzarich bracha achrona gam kain. You still have to make a bracha achrona by any food. If you both of them within achilas pras, because then it becomes one consumption. The issue is stopping to say that those who are not sure about this, bear hate him in name of lochtanos. Velina rekosh kosavnu. So HaShulchan says seems like he holds that this, like he said, that as long as they're both achilas pras, you have to make the bracha achrona, whatever's relevant. Mishnah Berurah also brings this question down, and he says maybe if you walked out between the two gazaisim, that's like Hesed Ladas, and then it's a question. Magen seems to say nevertheless it's mitzdarif. The Piskim Mishnah Berurah says that the Arukh HaShulchan in Siman Reish Yud Siv Beis will distinguish between eating a bread where you know to the dime, and eating something where you're not know to the dime. That'll be interesting to see when we get there. Arukh HaShulchan says, in brackets, this will evidence that this is from what we're going to say about cake stuffs. We had, when you started eating without a mind to be kovei suda, then you change your mind, decide to be kovei suda, the tzar bar birchas hamazon. At the bench. Here too is the same principle, because whether you have to make bracha achrona has nothing to do with the kavana at the time you made the bracha rishona, but rather the facts in the field, whether you ate a kazais or did not eat a kazais.